Welcome back to French Action. For those who are new to this channel, a warm welcome. You are watching French Action with Jenny. Today, I will teach you how to use verbs ending with ER in the present tense in French. If you are interested in the content and you haven't subscribed to this channel, you may consider doing so. You just need to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you are notified of all my next videos. Vous êtes prêts? C'est parti! Before we get right into it, let's answer the question. What is a verb? A verb is an action word. You will see that an action word is the heart of a sentence. Without it, there is no sentence. The shortest sentence I can think of is something like come here. And come is an action word. And that's what we call the verb. You see, if you were saying the cat or cat, it wouldn't make sense. But if I say come, it does make sense. And that's what we call a verb. What is the infinitive form of a verb? Because we talked about ER verbs, and those ER verbs are in the infinitive form. So what is it? It's the form of the verb as found in the dictionary at no tense at all. For example, if you look up speak, you're going to have to speak, and it's going to give you parler. And you see the ER, which I put in red, is the equivalent to the to. So if you have to speak, you will have to put parler with ER. And these are obviously the verbs we're going to look at. It's all those verbs ending with ER. In French, the verbs are put into three groups. So you have the first one, ER ending regular. Then you have the second group, IR endings, and they are also regular. And I'm sure you can guess that for the third group is all the irregular verbs. The good thing about it today is that we are looking at the first group, the regular ones. And all the ER verbs are regular except one which you might know already, which is aller. A-L-L-E-R. Aller, which means to go, doesn't belong to the first group. It belongs to the third group. A little question for you. How would you translate the verbs in blue into French in the following sentences? I am studying French. I study French every day. I have been studying French for 4 years. I'm giving you 1 little minute to think about translating this. This is the answer. I study, j'étudie. I am studying, j'étudie. I have been studying for 4 years, j'étudie. Isn't that wonderful? As you can see, there is only one version for the 3 sentences, and that is what I call a good deal. This means that when you want to translate I am doing something, do not translate word for word I am, je suis, and then put something else. It will not work. Okay? Because we have one tense which translates these 3 forms. So be careful. Before putting a verb into a tense, in other words, before conjugating a verb, we need to use what is called a personal pronoun. So let's have a look at those personal pronouns in French. There is a pattern and we need to follow it. The first 3 persons are singular. The last 3 persons are plural. So, the first one is I, je. Always think of you first, I. And then think about your friend, you. Okay, which is tu. And then think about the person you're talking about. He or she, il or elle. And these are the first 3, singular. And now we're moving to the plural. So when I and you are talking about somebody, we become we. So we equals to one person and others. Okay? So when I say one person, I meant I, me, and somebody else. You, here, we're going to have you plural. Is still the same you we had before, but with one or more persons. And we have il or elle, which is they. And it's like saying he or she with others. So, I'm going to conjugate parler, parler, which means to speak. So what I'm going to do is really to get rid of the ER, which is the ending and which shows the infinitive. So we're going to have what we call a stem. P-A-R-L is your stem. And what I put in red is the ending. And it will always be this ending. So for je is an E. For the tu is an ES, and be careful, it's not an S of plural, it's just an ending. And for he and she, il or elle, is an E. Now we're moving to the plural forms. So whenever you have a nous, the ending will be ONS. Whenever you have a vous, the ending will be EZ. And whenever you have the they form, you would have an ENT. So in terms of pronunciation, it goes je parle, tu parles, il or elle parle, which means that it's the same pronunciation, even though there's an S at the tu. And then nous parlons, vous parlez, il parle. So we are back to the parle right at the end. Otherwise, it's nous parlons, vous parlez. Let's conjugate aimer. Aimer means to like. So, it will give you this one, j'aime. So, be careful here. I selected this verb because it starts with a vowel. And what you're going to see is that if the verb starts with a vowel or an H, you're going to have to get rid of the first E and put an apostrophe. And that gives you j'aime. And it will only happen with the je form. And then we continue tu aimes with the S. Il or elle aime. Nous aimons. Have you noticed I link the S with the A, which sounds much better than nous aimons. Nous aimons. And I will do the same with the vous. Vous aimez. And il or elle aime. Nous aimons. Vous aimez. Il, elle aime. How do we conjugate rêver? Which means to dream. So here, I put it for you. Je rêve. Tu rêves. Il ou elle rêve. Nous rêvons. Vous rêvez. Il ou elle rêve. Now, let's look at some irregularities. What do I mean by irregularities? Because we're talking about ER regular. I'm only talking about some changes which are made due to pronunciation. Okay? So for example, here I put manger for you, which means to eat. Je mange. So it will be je mange, tu manges, il mange. And then once we reach the nous, if we don't have the E, we would say nous mangeons. So we wouldn't have the original sound of the je mange. So to keep that sound, we're going to add the E because a G next to a O gives you a go sound. So we're going to say nous mangeons with an E. So remember to put that E each time you have a we form, okay? Each time you want to say we eat, or we are eating, or we have been eating for a period of time, you will have to write nous mangeons. We have the same issue here with lancer because the C next to an O gives you the sound co, like noix de coco, coconut. Okay? So because the verb is lancer, it's got the C sound. Lancer means to throw. So je lance, tu lances, il lance, or elle lance. And once you reach nous, it would sound weird to hear lançons. Okay, it doesn't sound nice either. So nous lançons. So we're going to put what we call a cédilia. It's like half of number 5 under the C. Then we're going to have lever. So lever has the first little irregularity with the je, because you cannot have the e, because remember the e without an accent is silent. So it would mean that you have no sound, you would just have LV, and LV without a vowel is very difficult to pronounce. So we're going to put that accent here, okay? For the verb lever, which means to lift, lever, we don't have an accent here because the ER gives you the sound E. So we have a sound, okay? But if you remove the R, there's no sound. So we have to have this lève. So je lève, tu lèves, il lève. And then we want to go back to the original sound because we have now an ONS, we have a sound. So it would be nous levons. And then vous levez with the EZ. And then you're back to il lève or elle lève plural with the ENT at the end. Appeler is another one. When you say je m'appelle, you have two L's and an E, but the infinitive form of the verb is not appeler, is appeler, okay? So we're going to have j'appelle, which means I call, j'appelle, tu appelles, il appelle, elle appelle. And then we're going to go back to the original sound, and we're going to have nous appelons, vous appelez, and then for the they form, we are back to appel with ENT. So we have the same situation with verbs ending with YER. First of all, I need to explain to you that a Y in French is the equivalent to two I's. AI, for example, in the verb essayer, which means to try, AI gives you a, okay? And if you put an extra IER, you have ye. And that's the reason why you have essayer, okay? However, when you want the je form, the Y disappears because we don't need that sound. So we're just going to have j'essaie. J'essaie just with an E, which is silent. However, when we need that sound y sound, we're going to have to put the Y again, and that is going to be for the nous and the vous. nous essayons, vous essayez. But for all the other persons, it's going to be j'essaie, tu essaies, il essaie, and the last one will be ils essaient, same essai. Okay? So we're going to have the same situation with envoyer, which means to send. J'envoie, tu envoies, il ou elle envoie. But then, nous envoyons, vous envoyez, and back to ils envoient. Here, I'm conjugating the verb jeter, which means to throw away, so that you can see how it works. Jeter, here again, we have the ER gives you the A sound, so we are going to have one T. But once you remove the R, you have to end up with two E's. Okay, and the E's, remember, without an accent, are silent. So, since there's no sound, we're going to add a sound, and the best way to do it is just to double the T. So it gives you je jette, tu jettes, il or elle jette. And then we no longer have the et sound because we have a sound at the end. So we're going to say nous jetons, vous jetez. But here, because we have an E again, so because remember the ENT is silent in French, so we're going to say il or elle jette. So to make sure that you are aware of all those verbs, I have decided to put them in a table. So let's go through them. Acheter, to buy, gives you j'achète. But be careful with the new form, we are back to the original infinitive form and we say nous achetons. So no more accent. Appeler, to call, j'appelle. Nous appelons, we had seen that. Avancer is the same thing as lancer, okay? Where you would have to put the cédilla. It means to move forward. J'avance, but nous avançons. Envoyer, to send, j'envoie, nous envoyons. We had seen it as well as essayer, to try, j'essaie, nous essayons. Now, essuyer, which is to wipe, j'essuie, nous essuyons. Jeter, to throw away, je jette, but nous jetons. Lancer, to throw, je lance, but nous lançons. And finally, lever, to lift, je lève, nous levons. Manger, to eat, je mange, nous mangeons. Nager, to swim, je nage, nous nageons. So be careful, manger and nager have the same situation. Noyer, to drown, je noie, nous noyons. And payer, to pay, je paie, or je paye. And this one has two endings. Nous payons. Okay, so this is a list of the common verbs you're going to use. They are not irregular verbs. As I said, ER verbs are irregular, ER verbs are regular except aller, but there's a few changes because of phonetics. But they are not irregular verbs, because irregular verbs means that you would have a change in the endings, but the endings are not changing. It's just some accents or some cédilla to put or extra letters. That's it. Okay, so I have just created a little text. It's a message that I'm sending to somebody, which says, Bonjour, J'espère que tu te portes bien. Je t'invite au cinéma. C'est pour regarder Superman à la séance de 18 heures. Je t'appelle plus tard pour confirmer. So this is a text with a mixture of ER verbs. Some are conjugated and others are in the infinitive form. As you can see, tu te portes, porte is an ER verb, it's conjugated. Je t'invite, invite is conjugated, but regarder has the ER, it's infinitive, and je t'appelle, t'appelle is conjugated, but confirmer is in the infinitive. So it says, hello, I hope you are well. I'm inviting you to the movies. Is to watch Superman at the 6 p.m. showing. I'll call you later to confirm. So we need to practice, and here's an exercise on conjugation. What do you have to do? Mettez les verbes au présent. So you're going to see a series of verbs in brackets, and you'll have to put the right form in the present tense. Bonne chance! So here's the exercise. Quelqu'un dans la maison. Mes amis la police. Nous tous en même temps quand la police Le policier la fenêtre. Il quelque chose. Je la question. Qu'est-ce que vous Il un billet laissé par le voleur. So, even if you don't actually understand all the words in this exercise, I'm just asking you to focus on the verbs. So I give you a few minutes to do this, but because of time, I'm just asking you to pause the video. And now I'm going to show you the answers. Quelqu'un entre dans la maison. Mes amis appellent la police. Nous parlons tous en même temps quand la police arrive. Le policier regarde la fenêtre. Il cherche quelque chose. Je pose la question. Qu'est-ce que vous cherchez? Il ramasse un billet laissé par le voleur. So, the first one, quelqu'un entre. Quelqu'un means someone. So, if you have someone, it means you're going to use the he or a she form. So, that's the reason why we have entre. Mes amis, it's plural. Okay, so we're going to have they, and the they is the il or the elle plural. So we're going to have the ent at the end. The nous is quite simple because nous is already a personal pronoun. Police, la police arrive. La police, it's feminine and it's singular, so we're going to use the she. Okay. Le policier regarde, le policier, the policeman, so it's a he. Okay, so regarde la fenêtre. Il, again, cherche quelque chose. Is looking for something. Je pose la question. I ask the question. Qu'est-ce que vous cherchez? What are you looking for? Il ramasse un billet laissé par le voleur. So he picks up an ticket left by the thief. Did you get all this? We've come to the end of this video. Was it a good one? Well, if it was, please like it and share it. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Au revoir.